Welcome once again to our YouTube channel. This is your boy Shibli alongside Ssali behind the camera. Today we are going to look at the school reopening. But there is a question I want all of us to answer there. Are the stakeholders ready? Schools are opening, but are the stakeholders ready?
My name is Abdulwahid Jamal.
Yeah.
I study from Kayempe Mbogo Muslim Primary School, and I am ready to go back to school.
You're ready to go back to school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you been reading books?
Yes.
If they bring P7 exams now, can you pass?
Yes.
How are you prepared to pass yet you've been playing football here? Do you even read books?
Yeah.
Huh?
Once in a week.
What is respiration? What is respiration? Okay, what is pollination?
Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma.
What about respiration? That question is going to come in your exams. Now you said you're ready for your P7 exams, but do you think you're going to pass? Because if you go back to school, you're going to sit for exams, PLE very soon. So how do you expect to pass yet you don't know what respiration is? Aganaga. Aizulu. When we talk about school, who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are the students, or call them the pupils if it's a primary school, the teachers, the directors of the schools, or the owners of the schools, even the government, because this is a process that needs planning. Schools have been closed for the past 7 to 8 months ago, but since all work has been down and nothing is being done, there is a question that comes that now the government has given a go-ahead for schools to open. These people who are responsible or who makes up a school, like the students, the pupils, the directors, the teachers, how ready are they to start their job from where it ended at one point? Now today we are going to analyze what exactly the school structure is like at this moment, because where I'm standing, I'm in a place called Balita, This place is in Chiwenda, is found in Chiwenda. I've drove all the way from Kampala through Gayaza, and I'm in Chiwenda, a school called Bright Future Nursery and Primary School. So we are going to be analyzing all these matters right here on the ground. It's a very beautiful environment, and I'm really enjoying myself because there is no any pupils around because it's a nursery and primary school. But yeah, I'm alone in their beautiful compound. That's where I've come to, that's why we decided to come and analyze this issue so that we bring this information to you about schools, because today is the 1st of October. The government had said that the school should be opened by today, but it's not always, it wasn't that students should start right away from studying. What I understand is that teachers, the administrators were given this date to start preparing, so that by Monday, when students or pupils come to start their curriculum, everything is set. Today we are here at dropped the basa of the school, of this school. She's called Mrs. Shagia. So yeah, and she gave us the chance to video in their school. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the parents. You understand, when a school is open, there is a responsibility for parents to pay school fees, or call it tuition. My question is, are the parents really ready? Do they have the money? Because for a school to run, remember, even the school owners would not run the school without money. Their needs, the requirements of the school needs to be in place, which requires parents to pay. So parents are expected to pay tuition, so that also schools can be able to plan in feeding, even paying teachers' salaries, and yeah, buying scholastics like chalks. Yeah, in Uganda, we eat posho and beans. So my question is, how are the owners of the schools going to buy the food for the pupils? Because this is a school that has over 500 to 1,000 children who study in this place. How are they going to feed is also a question, because you understand the pandemic had brought, I'll call it a misfortune or a disaster, because many people lost jobs. I understand even the owner of the school had to go back and settle, doing other activities that were allowed. Those activities, I don't understand. The economy wasn't running good, very well. So my question that you can help me also to answer: are the parents ready to pay school fees right when the schools open? I don't want to analyze that because I'm a parent, but my child has not yet started studying. But those who have already taken on the initiative to pay school fees, I'm really concerned to ask whether they are ready, however much the government said the school should open. Yeah, there is also another issue whereby students or pupils have been encouraged to study digitally. This thing came as at a time which was not which wasn't expected. You know, the education system of Uganda requires that a student attends class so that they can interact one-on-one with a teacher or the lecturer in order to understand. But to understand what the teacher had taught or is teaching. But now it comes that the digitalization of studies or education in Uganda was brought around the time the pandemic had started, when schools were stopped from operating. But this system is not something that has been done previously. There are very few schools that had adopted this kind of teaching, but the majority have not done that. But now it was encouraged. Now a question is, have students been learning digitally? And if yes, how has it been effective? That's a question you should also help me to answer. Now another question that comes in my mind is, when will exams be sat? Because by the time the pandemic started, or when schools were closed, we had students in different classes, which are candidate classes and other classes, or we call them finalists. Finalists are students who are in their final year of study, like in their transition from primary to secondary, then others from O-level secondary to A-level secondary. Then there is also those who are transiting to university, and those ones who were in their final years at the university. So my question is, when are these students going to sit for their exams? Because now this is October, which means if students are starting on Monday to study, I would ask a question like, how long are they going to start, and will they cover the syllabuses or the curriculum in these few months till the end of the year? Because there is only 3 months remaining for the year to end. When will they sit for exams is a question. And by the time they sit the exams, will there be like okay, what kind of planning have they put for those candidates or finalists? Because what I understand, yes, the schools have been open, but mostly they have been opened for the finalists or students in their final years. So that's a question you should also help me to answer. I would also like to analyze I would also like to analyze the government proposal by the president that there will be a mass supply of radios to homes, so that pupils or students use them for e-learning. Now imagine in my country, people have to use radios. That's why the president proposed. But outside there, I think there was already introduction of computers. Studies can be taken online, but in my country that culture hasn't been, it's not popular. It's few people that do that. Now, if the president said that he's going to release radios, how can a child or a student study on radio? How can the demonstrations, or if there is any practical kind of application in the study is required, how will the student get to understand on a radio? So I really have a question on that. I don't know what you think about it, but I think it's a system or something that is meant to fail. Because if they say a radio per household, unless they say they are going to teach English on the radio, but I don't see that it would be very effective. Because radios already exist, like people have radios in their homes, but I don't think students have been using them for studies. I would rather think that if the government had decided maybe to give computers to students and then organize a curriculum that is favoring all classes, and then they give the materials through the internet, because even internet in Uganda is very expensive. Even if the government gave computers, it would be very, very, very not effective for some students. If, for example, it was required that they buy internet is expensive. Otherwise, what I want to analyze in this issue is that when the pandemic came, it brought about disruptions in academics. However, the systems or what was suggested to be done around that time is also not effective. It cannot support the Ugandan education system or the students' learning capacity. It cannot accommodate it very well. So I don't know what you think about it. You can give a comment below and we hear what your suggestion would be about that issue. I also have a question of school owners. There are government schools and there are also private schools in Uganda. What is there for them? Because they are private schools, not everybody have a property where they run their school. Some people are renting. So my question is, it's over 8 months that students have been off, and remember, money invested in business sometimes is borrowed money, and which needs to be returned with interest. And to run a business successful for a longer period of time, the business needs to be profitable. But schools haven't been realizing profits for the past 8 months. Now my question to you, our viewers, if you have any idea of how school owners can get back to business without getting affected by what the pandemic has caused. For example, they have to pay rent. If there is a rent that has accumulated for the 8 months, how do you think a school owner can pay that rent? Or should they pay the rent, or do you expect the landlord to forgive them? So you can also, there is also that burden that came with the pandemic, or when the schools were stopped because school fees was not paid anymore. Another thing I want to also comment on is the teachers' funds. You know, when the pandemic started, the government had a plan for their teachers, because teachers on government payroll could do, at least they were paid. They were paid their salary, monthly salary. Until now they are paid. But what about teachers who were on the private, teaching in private schools? Because when schools stopped, both government and private schools were closed. Now, what I understand is, like, for the first month, when the pandemic had just begun, some teachers in the private sector got paid, and most of them, actually, I would say most of them got laid off, but in all levels of academics, from nursery to the university. So my question is, during the pandemic, how have they been surviving? I think some even switched to other sectors. And because the teaching sector had been laid redundant. Now there is a time when the president came out trying to look for solutions for those teachers, and he released some funds in billions. It was released to the Teachers Association of Uganda, but the top officials in that association mishandled the money. They were corrupt officials, and the teachers did not even benefit from that money. Now my question, maybe some teachers have ventured in another kind of business, and now it's like after opening schools, they are calling them back to come and start teaching again. Now the question to you is, what is the solution for these teachers and those people who stole teachers' funds? How relevant or how helpful can you be to them? What advice can you give to them in order to say that their jobs are secured? Because there is no any kind of job security for teachers. That's what it shows. The pandemic has really come to test the system, or the government system. It has come to test the systems in different organizations and associations. But in all, if you have any suggestion of how teachers can still be safe in difficult times like this. Another thing that I want to bring forward to you, our viewers, is what happens to other classes. Yes, the school has been opened, but they say to the finalists, or call them the candidate classes. But there is also these students who are on their journey to be candidates. What's going to happen to these students? Because there hasn't been anything mentioned about them, what they will be doing when they are joining school, and if it comes to their exams, what questions or what questions will be brought in their exams, and will they be in position to answer these questions? We also managed to move around areas of Kawempe, and we had an interview with one of the pupils who is going to sit for P7 class. He was playing football, but he has even forgotten what he was taught in school. He has forgotten everything for the first 7-8 years, which means 7-8 months, which means that during the pandemic period, however much directives were sent that the pupils and students should read their books, some of them were not concentrating. So being in school is better than staying home and maybe telling them to concentrate on radios and TVs for studies. They haven't been doing that. Now the pandemic has brought a lot of disruptions. Now I have a question. These students, after everything, how will their character, how will they be in school? Some bright students, I think, will drop in. Comment on the parents who paid their tuition when schools had started. Remember when the pandemic started around February? In China, actually in China it started in December. We had started hearing about COVID-19 in December, but in Uganda, restrictions and the lockdowns plus curfew hours had started being enforced in March. But now remember, by that time students had just joined school for just 1 month. Like they started the whole of February. Now when we are entering March, that's when everything went at still. Now remember, there are parents who pay school fees or tuition when the term is just beginning. Now those parents, what is the plan for them? Because their tuition, I think, was taken, but is there any kind of arrangements for them? Because I understand even the schools are not the ones who planned the pandemic to come, but they also needed the money, and parents sometimes want to take off the responsibility of paying the school, of delaying to pay the tuition. That's why they pay earlier. So what's going to happen to those parents? I really feel for them. That's why I really want to ask people who are watching this channel, this video right now, to please advise what should happen to such parents. Yeah, there are people also who lost their jobs during the pandemic, more so the teachers. Schools could not contain them because it was overwhelming on them, because if you're not earning a salary and you have a worker you're paying, some people were laid off, and teachers have also suffered this same thing. Now the question is, should these teachers get back to school? Okay, how should they get back to their jobs? Because this is a very clear evidence that in Uganda there is no job security. In case of anything, someone can easily lose their work. And what is next for them? We want to plan for a better Uganda. That's why we are doing this video. Your advice really matters. People who will watch this video would have a clue, just in case you never know, it can land in the hands of an education supervisor somewhere, or the minister herself. She can be in position, because things, the way I'm seeing things, had gone out of their hands. Even if you're a leader and such a pandemic comes, how can you sit back and plan for what is next? As far as I'm seeing this whole situation, that schools should be opened and students start studying, still there is not a clear roadmap for schools, for students, for parents, for teachers. I would say all the stakeholders. We are very, very, very appreciative of your contributions towards our channel, and we are here to bring to you things that affect people in their communities. If it is happiness, we are ready to bring it to you. If it is sorrow, we are ready to bring it to you. But in all, we just need your advice, and also to update you, understand what's going on. Thanks for loving us. It's me and Sally, your best YouTubers on from Uganda, and thank you for giving us all this time to watch our videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and commenting on this YouTube channel. So Sally, what's up? Tell me what's going on, and how you find the schools and the government planning of schools opening starting Monday.
I don't know much about that, but I'm just wondering and asking myself whether the teachers and the government they are ready for the next century. So let us keep our eyes on what is coming next.
It's very surprising that even our country don't have, like, I would say the teachers do not have a security fund to help them in difficult times like this. Because during the pandemic, you'll hear that some teachers went back in the villages to start digging, like a teacher from teacher to farming. Now, just because that in Uganda, the planning comes like on things that is visible. For example, teacher's salary. As long as the teacher is paid a monthly salary, her security in terms of disaster is not given is not given attention. What do you talk about that? What would you advise the government to do for teachers in times like this?
Since I'm not a teacher, I can't go far away beyond into, how do you call it?
Issues that don't concern you.
Into these issues.
They don't concern you.
No, like, I don't know much about it, but I think the government should do something, should find at least something, how do you call it? Making a bylaw? How do you call it?
Like
That
passing a law
passing a law.
in the parliament.
Yeah, to help teachers, mostly private teachers, to see how these teachers are being paid just in case of anything that happens, like COVID-19. Because COVID-19, we have seen that it has affected many of the teachers. Many have resorted into family. Many of them have gone back to villages to help their parents. Others, they are working in other businesses.
But remember,
just to survive. But the question is,
what do you think?
How are they going to be paid for the last 7 months? They have not been working. How are they going to be favored? It is a question. So I'm only asking the government to find a way of helping teachers, and not only teachers and other workers.
Okay.
To see that they are not left out.
They are not left out. Remember, this pandemic has affected both teachers and people in other sectors, but not specifically people who are on government payroll. Because teachers on government payroll are still receiving salaries. But there are these teachers in the private sector who teach in private schools. Those are teachers who have been affected by the pandemic so much. Now, but remember also, I asked you a question that what should the government do? The president came out and gave over 11 billion shillings to be funded, to be put in the teachers circle, teachers association. But one of the leaders, like 3 people got involved in a corruption kind of a scheme that saw the money disappearing. So what would have been the best way the president would handle this whole thing? Or you would say, even did the money reach there? Because we are hearing in the news that 3 fraudsters disappeared with the money. But do you think that was really a reasonable excuse to give? Because nobody saw the money. But
I'm only waiting for the reply from the government. Really don't know what happened since they haven't given out any reply about these guys who took the money. So we are only waiting what next, their reply from the court, what the court has suggested, and we find out what next.
Anyway, thank you so much, Shibli Ssali, for your contribution towards this video, and let's try to encourage Ugandans to be really strong during this pandemic period. And let our viewers don't forget to share, to like,
and subscribe
to this video. You are very, very loved by us, and we also hope that you love us as a give back. We are not doing this because we are paid. We are doing it for the sake of transmitting information so that you get to know what's happening. Thank you so much.